This is probably one of the few places where you actually have whitebark along a road system outside of wilderness or wilderness study area.
We're looking for seedlings.
And then I got that spruce.
You see the cones on those? One beautiful tree, and you're girdling these trees all around it.
Whitebark pine is a special species because it is a keystone species. It is interrelated with many other species that are dependent upon that tree.
Whitebark pine are super important because they help the snow to accumulate under the trees, and then they also help the snow to melt more slowly because they create shade. And so we're able to actually have water in our rivers year-round. They take carbon out of the air and create these pine nuts that are super high in protein and fat. And so many forest animals really, really love those seeds.
Whitebark pine is under threat by an unprecedented outbreak of pine bark beetles and also a disease called blister rust. What we really care about is preparing the sites so that these whitebark stands are much more able to withstand the threats that they're facing.
We do consider whitebark pine a species in peril in the greater Yellowstone area and really throughout its range. There are really two agents that are causing whitebark pine decline right now. The first is a non-native pathogen called white pine blister rust. This pathogen sort of hits the trees and slowly kills it one limb at a time.
Well, it's like the flu. The tree will keep getting infected over and over again throughout its life, and it'll fight it off, just like we fight the flu off. And then it starts to ooze sap. It's trying to push that rust out. Where's that adult beetle you said you found? Up there. Yep, there's two beetles in here. Very good.
The other issue is mountain pine beetle. Mountain pine beetle is a native species. They've evolved together, whitebark pine and this disturbance. We're not getting these cold winters that we used to have that really knock them down, that it seems to be more persistent on the landscape.
The Greater Yellowstone Coordinating Committee has put together a pretty comprehensive plan that ranges from finding ways to protect against damage from pine bark beetles, selecting and growing disease-resistant trees, and really looking into the future.
We currently know that the rust resistance for whitebark pine for the greater Yellowstone ecosystem out in the natural stands is at 28%. When you bring those trees into an orchard, you've not only got improvement on the mom, you've got improvement on the dad, the pollen parent. So by having this orchard, you are doubling your rust resistance. So we'll have a more consistent cone crop in here. We'll be able to water these trees. We'll be able to fertilize them. We will be planting 15 acres of about 5,000 trees that are survivors from that rust screening. What is happening here doesn't happen anywhere else in the United States. To have this cooperative agreement among federal agencies.
American Forest is really playing a coordinating role in this process. We're working with the Forest Service, we're working with universities, with the Park Service, and with other partners to really bring attention to the scope of this problem and its importance. I came into this thinking that this was going to be an uphill battle. But I think actually when I've listened to the people who are on the ground here, the people who are really studying this, they're tremendously optimistic.
I am hopeful about whitebark pine in the greater Yellowstone area. We're sort of early enough in the game where if we keep initiating these restoration techniques across these boundaries, that we do have a really good shot of trying to maintain whitebark pine through the high elevation landscape.
This is a process of discovery. What we're learning about whitebark pine are going to provide a host of lessons that are transferable, not just to the Mountain West, but to forests beyond.
We can restore this ecosystem, even outside of wilderness areas, in our lifetimes. If we have that planting commitment to get whitebark pine on the landscape, we can bring something back from the brink.